Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Hump Day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day, the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. And I can guarantee you so far, well, today, especially it being New Year's Eve, well, let's just say success. And chiming in really, really early, we've got American Crossfire saying good afternoon, or for those of you on the East Coast, good evening, and Happy New Year. Yes, it's going to be a very, very happy New Year. Going to be a great New Year's Eve. I've got the kids coming by, bringing the grandkids by. Gonna sneak over to a friend of mine's also having a little birthday party tonight, so we're gonna have a really good time today. As you can see, I've already kind of started with the libations. I'm actually joining a little bit of Colonel E.H. Taylor. He didn't give this to us for free. I bought it, but I actually do kind of like it, so figured I'd let y'all know. We do tend to enjoy and partake of both cigars. Well, I can't partake of cigars while on the show because my studio is in the house, and I want to live. And if I smoke a cigar in the house, that will cease to be the case. In any case, I can enjoy some fine spirits, whether it be whiskey or bourbon or brandy or tequila. Usually, though, when I look on my wall over here, and I've got a pretty nice wall over here, about 40 different bottles, all of them whiskeys, bourbons. Yeah, pretty much all of them whiskey, bourbons, a couple of scotches. But yeah, pretty much, yeah, that's where I'm at. But anyway, this is how we like to kick off the weekend. And I figured no better time, no better way to do that and kick off the New Year's Eve than that way. As we talked about before, Mike is not with us today. He's not going to be with us all week. By the way, just a reminder, this is our last show for the year, not just for the year, but for the week. So I'm taking tomorrow off, obviously, first of the year, and then the second Friday. Yeah, I'm taking Friday off as well. So we'll be back on Monday. We'll be kicking off the new year. But today we're going to finish strong, right? We're going to finish strong with some really, 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 really good shoe and good news and stuff like that. But we're going to do as we usually do. We're going to kick it off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with the folks over at Hitman Industries. They make rifle and pistol caliber barrels. They're available for sale at any length. All you have to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. If you're looking to do a brand new build, or maybe you're looking to rebarrel your old rifle. In fact, by the way, if you own an AR and you've purchased it in the last couple of years, chances are you already have one of their barrels, so you know it's good. Start your journey, start your project over at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly. This is an organization that works to help elect conservatives, not just Republicans, but conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. In fact, Ronald Reagan, back in the day, once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. If you want to learn more about them, just go to their website, cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the folks who make and produce and sell the best concealed carry tactical holster available on the market. That's Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. What does that mean? Well, it's HAWG. Why do they spell it that way? Because they like helping Americans wear guns. They like it so much, they want to give you a discount. All you have to do is use the discount code The Rundown. All one word, no space, all caps, just like it is right there. And you're going to get your hog holster on a discount. And then finally, as the weather is changing, and I don't know about y'all, but here in California, it's kind of cold, right? And when I say cold, I mean cold. Well, for like 41 degrees. I know for those of you in the Midwest or those of you in the North, I realize that's probably not that cold. But for us, yeah, that's kind of cold. Here in Cali, that is kind of cold. So I need some warm, some cold weather gear, right? I need to get bundled up. And there's no better place for me to start my that process of finding that gear than to go to uscombatgear.com. They have a huge selection. They specialize in group sales, so you can get a phenomenal discount. And and by the way, they have the best customer service available on the market. You need to go there. You need to check them out. uscombatgear.com, with the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. Now, also want to remind you, if you are watching this program 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, that means you're watching it live. And what we do is that when we take comment, we basically take comments. So I'm looking at your comments as they're coming in over here. If I find them to be interesting, I will go ahead and give them a shout out. Now, in order for them to be interesting, you do not have to agree with me, right? You don't have to agree with my particular perspective. In fact, it's actually more interesting if you disagree with me, because then that gives me the opportunity to mock you.
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, in the mockingbird? Another mockingbird?
Yeah, that's right. So we take great joy in mocking folks, not because not because we're trying to be mean, but because it's interesting, right? It's fun. In particularly, it's interesting to me. I enjoy it. So, and because I kind of get a chance to determine what I'm going to do and what I'm going to talk about, then I kind of have a little bit of an advantage, and that's okay. That's okay with me. That really is okay. Excuse me. Oh, American Crossfire points out that they're in Georgia. It's 70 degree, or the point out in Georgia, it's 70. It was 70 degrees on Christmas and 30 for New Year's. Wow. Okay. That's a little bit of a difference. I mean, not much. Is that the high? Was 30 degrees the high or the projected high for New Year's there? Wow. That is crazy. In fact, if y'all are out in Georgia, y'all are 3 hours ahead of us. I'm assuming that the New Year's Eve party is either has already begun or is about to begin. So I actually find it quite impressive that you are tuning in on the East Coast watching this program. But you are very, very welcome. In fact, why don't you do this? Why don't you go ahead and share this, however you share stuff, and let your friends know so that they can join in the conversation. Because as they like to say, what's that rap song? It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. Well, go ahead and join on in. We would love to let them know we'd love to have them. Love to have them. I see here Nicholas Brown. Nicholas Brown, a good friend of mine from just down the street in Dixon, California. He is tuned in. Nick, thank you for joining the program. We're going to have a lot of fun today talking news, politics, and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Let's start off with Mr. Mamdani. That's right. Mr. Mamdani is going to be sworn in as the new mayor of New York City. New York City, get a rope. Yes, he's going to be the mayor of New York City. The interesting thing is that he is going to be the first mayor of New York City to be sworn in on a Quran. That's right. The book, the religious book of the Islamic faith or of the Muslim faith. He is, instead of being sworn in on a Bible, as most American politicians are, he's going to be sworn in on a Quran. Let's read a little bit of the story from the New York Post. Zohran Mamdani will be the first New York City mayor to be sworn in on a Quran when he takes office at midnight, January 1, officials said. Mamdani, who will be the first Muslim to lead the city, will use at least 3 different sets of Islam's holy book to take the oath of office during his private and public ceremonies. Thursday, his spokesman said. The far left politician is expected to use his grandfather's Quran and one that belonged to Black writer and historian Arturo Schumberg, uh, lent by the New York Public Library during a private midnight ceremony at the abandoned Old City Hall subway station. During his daytime oath of office at City Hall, he will again use his grandfather's religious book and at least one other family Quran, the New York Times reported, and Mamdani representative confirmed. State Attorney General Letitia James will swear in Mamdani at midnight, while Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders will deliver the oath of office to the Democratic Socialist later that day. Recent mayors have used a variety of religious texts with personal meaning and historical significance when getting sworn into office. Once again, that's I guess that's Arturo Schoenberg. That's the one of the Bibles that he's going to be using. It says Eric Adams, who will serve one term before he who served one term before he dropped his election bid, swore in on his family Bible and held a portrait of his late mother in his other hand as the ball dropped at Times Square, New York, in 2022. Bill De Blasio opted to be sworn in on a Bible that was once owned by a progressive hero, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when he was sworn into office in 2014. The historic Bible famously went missing for hours after the ceremony, sparking a moment of panic before it was eventually recovered. Now, here's the interesting thing about this, and I know, and there's a couple of issues here, and well, the first is the reason why people use the Bible is because it is considered. Well, first of all, we are a nation that, while we are not a theocracy, we are a nation that is based on Judeo-Christian principles, and much of our government, if you look at it, if you read through it, if you understand the readings and the writings of the founding fathers, if you study the Bible, you study our form of government, you will come to understand just how intertwined we are with those things. Now, we are not a theocracy. We are not a religious governed nation, but many of our founding fathers made it very clear that that our government only works if you have a people who are willing to be submitted to Judeo-Christian principles in particular, and the people most likely to do that are people who believe in biblical values. Now, the interesting thing is that you have an individual who does not believe in biblical values. In fact, the Quran is not consistent with the Bible when it comes to many, 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 many items, including, by the way, our form of government, because the Quran does not talk about or teach about democracy. It believes in theocracy. It believes in a church-run state, or at least it teaches or preaches about a church-run state. So for him to swear in on that means that he is going to be committed to the principles outlined in that book, which means he is going to be committed to principles that are inconsistent with our particular form of government, and the particular foundings of our nation. So that's kind of sad, and it's kind of sad. Well, good and sad. Here's the thing. Every once in a while, and George Will kind of pointed this out, every once in a while you need a very, very public example. You need to let people see what socialism is. Let them see how it works, and let them see it fail. And in this particular case, here in the United States, is there any more of a visible example of how this could possibly fail, or quite frankly, how this will fail, than the governorship or the mayorship of basically the largest city in the entire country, the center, the symbolic center of free market economy, to see it turned into a socialist hellhole. Not that it already isn't drastically leaning that way, but to have someone come and say, we're going balls to the wall. We're taking it all the way. And he's so committed to undermining our Christian values, our Judeo-Christian values, that he's going to swear in on a Quran. Now, understand this, folks. There are a lot of things that a lot of principles that the socialist doesn't believe in. So here, one of two things is going to happen. He is either one of three things. He is either going to significantly institute Muslim values, which are, by the way, completely and wholly inconsistent with the values of the Democratic Socialist Party. And so he's going to have to explain to folks, why are you approving some of these things that we know that are against our religion? Or he's going to have to institute, he's either going to institute Islamic values, which the Democratic Socialists are going to hate, and they're going to challenge him and go against him on, or he's going to institute Islamic values, in which case they're going to have a real hard time with. In which case, Muslims are going to be like, wait a minute, wait. So which are you going to? Basically, you're going to have both sides are going to be like, wait, which one are you going to do? Or he's going to try to split the baby. Now, the interesting thing about that is that once again in Islam, they believe it is okay to lie to others in order to gain victory. Deception is a plus. It is a encouraged if it means the advancement of Islam. And I'll just tell you what in the end what is going to wind up happening. I know some people out there are not going to like this. They're not going to like me saying this. But in the end, what will likely wind up well, I won't say likely. What is possible is one of two things is going to happen. Either it is going to fail miserably and people are going to boot him out of office and realize, yeah, no, okay, the the Islamic socialist experiment did not work at all. Or it's still going to fail and somehow he's going to blame Republicans and Donald Trump. And the question then is going to be, will New York believe him? If they believe him, well, then they'll continue to get worse. If they don't believe him, then he's going to wind up getting removed from office. So, by the way, he is not the first American politician, to be sworn in. You have at the federal level, you had Keith Ellison, who's a Democrat. He's the first Muslim elected to Congress in 2007. He used the Thomas Jefferson historical copy of the Quran for his swearing in. By the way, no, Thomas Jefferson was not a Muslim. Thomas Jefferson had a copy because he understood, as a Bible-believing Christian, he understood that we need to understand the other major faiths of the world, and he studied other religious books in order to understand those faiths. Ilhan Omar, sworn in 2019, she used her grandfather's Quran. The Somali who married her brother and still swears allegiance to Somalia while serving in Congress. Go figure. You got Rashida Tlaib was sworn in 2019. She used her own personal copy of the Quran. Then you had Andre Carson, a Democrat from Indiana, another Muslim in Congress. He has not been reported using the Quran. So, some people said he did not use a Quran. Then at the state and local level, you had some city council member, and then you have Zohran Mamdani. So he's once again going to be the first mayor of New York City to be sworn in on a Quran. And that is, that's just kind of interesting. That's all I will say. It's kind of sad, but, just be honest. It wasn't like de Blasio really believed in the Bible anyway. I mean, there are a lot of politicians, in particular on the left, but there are probably some on the right who have sworn to uphold the Constitution with their hand on the Bible and turned around and ignored the fact that they just took an oath and ignored the Constitution. So, what's the difference between using a Quran and using a Bible if you know you're going to lie anyway? If you know that what you're saying when you take that oath of office for them is a lie. It's an oath, not supposed to be lying, but we know for them it's a lie. All right, here's an example of folks, because you have the mayor of San Francisco actually swore in on a Bible, but that is not going to stop him from losing his darn mind. And that's let's see here. Here we go. Here in San Francisco, basically, the city council approved, and the mayor has now signed into law authorization for them to basically start paying reparations. In fact, San Francisco mayor quietly signs reparations fund that would lead to $5 million payments per person, right? It says here, the mayor of San Francisco signed an ordinance that creates a reparations fund that could one day grant each of the city's eligible Black residents up to $5 million in reparations for alleged historic discrimination and displacement. The ordinance, which was passed by the Board of Supervisors earlier this month, was signed by Democrat Mayor Daniel Lurie 2 days before Christmas. It established the legal framework for the fund but does not allocate funds or guarantee payments. The fund can be financed with private donations, foundations, and other non-city sources. Any taxpayer funded reparation payouts would require separate legislation and an identified funding source and mayoral approval. Laurie, Laurie told Fox News Digital that no taxpayer money would be paid into the potential pot given the city's $1 billion budget deficit. Quote, I was elected to drive San Francisco's recovery. And that's what I'm focused on every day. Laurie said in a statement to Fox News Digital, we are not allocating money to this fund. With a historic $1 billion budget deficit, we are going to spend our money on making the city safer and cleaner. Now, I don't know about you, but if you tell me that someone that you approved a fund, right? You say, look, we know we owe you money and we're going to pay you money. In fact, I'm going to set up an account right over here. I'm gonna give you my look. I opened a checking account so that I can one day write you a check to pay you what I owe you. What do you think the chances are that you're going to get paid? Anybody? Anybody? I'm going to bet on a big fat zero. That's my bet. What are y'all betting? Huh? Anybody? Yeah. That's how bad it's going to be. This is not going to happen, folks. Democrat politicians have used the issue of reparations and they've made promises around reparations all in an effort to get black votes. And the problem is that none of them have actually paid off. None of them have actually put up money. Because here's the thing. Number one, let's just be real. The people who owned slaves are no longer alive. Nobody alive today owned slaves. Add to that the fact that nobody alive today was a slave. What about the people who came here from another country post-slavery? I mean, there are a lot of people who are going to wind up footing this bill that had nothing to do with slavery. In fact, the funny part about it is San Francisco never had slaves. The state of California never had slaves. Slavery was never legal in the state of California. That's how whacked out these left-wing politicians are. This is how, not just whacked out, because they didn't put any money into it. This is how stupid they think Democrat voters are. In particular, this is how stupid they think black voters are. That's what they think. They think black voters, they think you are stupid. They think that if they set up a fund, well, then you guys are going to believe that you're going to get paid. So you need to support them. This is, it's symbolism. It's nothing real. It's nothing substantive. Right? And they're not going to do anything to make up for the policies that they put in place that have actually harmed America, harmed black people in America. I don't know, like the massive funding of a genocide of black babies. That's right. I'm talking about abortion. You know, it came from eugenics. You know, it started because they didn't want undesirable people. They didn't want populations of undesirable people to grow. And among those groups of undesirable people were black folks. The Nazis supported the eugenics movement. The Klan supported the eugenics movement. And yes, the Democratic Party did and still does support the eugenics movement, which basically is in part about killing off black people. And of course, they're going to lie to you about reparations. Do you think they're going to give you reparations for that? Do you think that's going to be included in there? Huh? How about money for the families of every black baby who was never born, who was not born because because the Democratic Party supported having their lives taken, Or how about every young black child who grew up in a single parent household because of the welfare programs established by Lyndon Johnson and the Democratic Party that wound up separating black families? You may not know this, but before Franklin Delano Roosevelt and before the New Deal, as well as before Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, you may not know this, or before the Civil Rights Movement, but black folks, black children were more likely to grow up in a two-parent household. They were more likely, they were doing better in school. They were doing better economically. In fact, economic growth among black people and business ownership among black people was increasing and outpacing every other segment of society. Then came along the Democratic Party, the good liberals, to try and help black folks. Now you look at every socioeconomic category. I mean, black folks are near the bottom because the Democrats have been so good to us. But they're not going to pay any reparations for that. They don't consider that a negative. That was just accomplishing what they set out to accomplish. And in their eyes, the Democratic Party feels bad because they failed when they tried to keep slavery going. They failed. They failed when it came to Jim Crow laws because they really wanted to keep Jim Crow laws in order to keep black people down and keep them enslaved. So they failed. So they feel like they should pay black people because they failed to be successful in subjugating us. And that is who they are. And the sad part is that so many people, so many blacks in leadership, so many blacks in media, they have prospered because they have all been a part of it. Just ask the folks over at the Negro Project, which was a program of Planned Parenthood, once again funded and paid for by the Democratic Party. You know, that's just, once again, that is just who they are. And and they have no problem. Well, this is an interesting story. We've been talking all week. We've been talking even last week about the stuff that's been going on with the Somalian daycare and whatnot over there in Minnesota. Well, it turns out that a quote unquote political reporter who calls himself a legal expert decided that he was going to spend a little time fantasizing about having Somalis kill Americans. Let's read this story. It says here, the top legal reporter for Politico.com apparently suggested Tuesday a person can be legally shot for asking questions at the doorstep of businesses. Quote, at some point, the amateur effort to knock on doors of home daycares intersects with robust stand your ground laws, said a X message from Josh Gerstein, Politico's senior legal affairs reporter. The threat was likely aimed at independent journalist Nick Shirley, who has precipitated a storm in the. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. Just moved on me here. Okay, who has precipitated a storm in the mainstream media about large-scale fraud and corruption by ethnic Somali business owners in Minnesota. Many establishment sites, including Politico, have ignored or downplayed the report, which has been widely reported on mainstream media sites and has reached more than 100 million views. Amid the storm of condemnation, more than 10,000 hostile comments, Gerstein later defended himself with a second message saying, to observe something that is likely to happen or there is a serious risk of it happening is not to advocate for it happening. This is what that's pretty much what he said, to recognize the fact that it could happen. It says here, White House rapid response social media account described Gerstein as a sicko. In other words, he's providing examples. He's saying, look, you may get to just shoot somebody if they come knocking on your door. Hey, Politico, come get your guy who is advocating for the murder of American journalists, said a response from political activist Chris Rufo. Quote, imagine the insanity needed to say you could be shot for knocking on the doors of a legitimate business during a time period required to be opened by your license and saying, I'd like to enroll my son here. And a response from the account named, that was from a response named Murray Rutherford. The reaction to Gerstein's tweet was unsurprising. Many progressives have made death threats against mainstream Americans since Trump was first elected in 2016. But these threats are multiplying, and the sniper murder of conservative Charlie Kirk in September. And that's the thing, folks. Once again, if you disagree with them, violence against you apparently in their eyes is justified. And all he's saying is, hey, folks, if he comes knocking on your door, here's your justification. Stand your ground, laws. Now, having said that, I would also say this. I don't necessarily know that, once again, there's a lot, and we talked about this before. There's a lot that I would like to know more. I would like to know about the timing of, and all of this, about the timing of who exactly he talked to. Did he go back multiple times? There's a whole bunch of stuff that I'd like to know about these videos and about this investigation wasn't conducted. There's a lot I'd like to know before I pass judgment on whether or not what is there is true or not. You have the one of the daycare providers said, look, he came by here when we were closed. It says we're open from 2 to 10. I find it very odd. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any daycare center or why a daycare center would be open 2 to 10. Are you telling me Somalis or these folks, this community don't go to work earlier in the day? They're saying they don't go to work. They don't start work at 9. They don't work 9 to 5s like most people. You're telling me none of them work 9 to 5s? The place was shut down. It was closed. And then once again, that's assuming that it wasn't past 2 o'clock. I don't know because I didn't see them say, look, it says on their license they're supposed to be open this time, and they're not open. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff I'd like to see on that. That having been said, I did not see anything threatening. I don't believe that, once again, when a guy comes up with either a cell phone or a camera and they start asking you questions, I don't believe that you're under any obligation to answer any of their questions. I really don't. I don't know why people would think that they are. And anyway, all that having, and once again, all that is just, all of that does not take away from the fact that this guy basically is saying that because of stand your ground, you can shoot people for no reason. And that's, by the way, that's what they believe stand your ground means. That if someone just comes knocking your door, they don't really pose a threat, that you can shoot them. And the thing that he forgets is, and this one again, this is a legal advisor. It has to be in other words, you have to be a threat according to a reasonable person. There's this reasonable person expectation, right? Or at least what is analysis, right? In other words, would a reasonable person believe that this guy is a threat? Was he threatening violence? Did he have a weapon? Right? Was he engaged in aggressive physical activity? Right? What is the thing that would make a reasonable person believe that he was a threat? I didn't see anything in the 42-minute video that would lead me to believe that he was a threat. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe y'all think you saw something. Let me know. Go ahead and let me know in the comments if there's anything you thought you saw in the video that you thought might make this guy an actual threat. I didn't see it. And because that reasonable person standard, by the way, there have been people who did what this guy said when someone came to their residence, and they have been arrested and they have been charged, and in several cases they have been convicted of shooting somebody who was not a threat because no reasonable person believed in one case, I don't know whether they didn't say that the person was, there was no possible way they could have asserted that the person was a threat because they shot through the door. They didn't even bother to see who the person was. They just shot him. And that's what this guy is encouraging them to do now. You go knock on a door, you start asking them questions. What's going on with this? And you deserve to get shot. By the way, being obnoxious is not in and of itself a license to shoot them. If someone is being obnoxious, you don't have a license to shoot them. Not saying. I know some of us wish that wasn't the case, but yeah, that's the case. Let's see. Oh, American Crossfire chimed in again. Yeah, they're saying that the 30 is a low. Okay. So here in California, in Northern California, we've had days where it's been 70 degrees in the day, and then it's gotten like into the 30s, usually mid 30s, at night. So we've actually had that happen here. He says we have 2 kids, 4 and 8 months, 4 years old and 8 months, or not 4 months and 8 months. Anyway, our party is going to bed. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. We used to go out on New Year's. Now, if we do something on New Year's, it's either going to be with family or friends. So that's kind of our shtick around this time of year. All right, moving along to our next story, and this has to do with our folks here in the great state of California. And well, not so great. It's great. It is still great. I still love California. I just hate what the left is doing to my beloved state. In any case, moving right along. Here we have California now. So California had committed to actually getting rid of or taking away the driver's licenses of of a bunch of drivers who really should not have illegal or immigrants or illegal immigrants uh, who should not have California commercial driver's licenses. But now it appears that they're going to delay it because, well, they're being sued. So an immigrant group is suing them, and they've now delayed. They now delayed it. It says here, a week after immigrant groups filed a lawsuit, California said Tuesday it will delay the revocations of 17,000 commercial driver's licenses until March to allow more time to ensure that truckers and bus drivers who legally qualify for the licenses can keep them. But U.S. Treasury Secretary Sean Duffy said the state may lose $160 million if it doesn't meet the January 5th deadline to revoke the licenses. He already withheld $40 million in federal funding because he said California isn't enforcing English proficiency requirements for truckers. California only sent out notices to invalidate the licenses after Duffy pressured the state to make sure immigrants who are in the country illegally aren't granted licenses. And an audit found problems like licenses that remained valid long after an immigrant's authorization to be in the country expired, or licenses where the state couldn't prove it checked the driver's the driver's immigration status. Quote, California does not have an extension to keep breaking the law and putting Americans at risk on the roads, Duffy posted on the social platform X. Transportation Department has been prioritizing the issue ever since a truck driver who was not authorized to be in the U.S. made an illegal U-turn and caused a crash in Florida that killed 3 people in August. California officials said they are working to make sure the Federal Transportation Department is satisfied with the reforms they have put in place. The state planned to resume issuing commercial driver's licenses in mid-December, but the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has blocked that. As well they should. I mean, you've heard, and it's not, by the way, it's not just commercial licenses, but there have been instances across the country and also, once again, specifically with commercial licenses, because once again, if you give someone a driver's license, it authorizes them to drive anywhere in the country. If you give them a commercial license, it allows them to drive commercially anywhere in the country. And when you hand a driver's license to someone who doesn't understand English, they can't read it, they can't write it, they can't speak it, you are putting dangerous people on the road in in killing machines. We're talking in big rigs, on buses. And they don't know the rules of the road, and they have no way of learning the rules of the road because they can't read the books. They can't talk to the people who speak English that can teach them the rules of the road. And yet, this is what happens. Once again, it boggles the mind. And the thing is, in California, once again, they're always like, well, you know, the one. In other words, they would be willing to allow 99 illegal immigrants on the road who can't read or write English, right? Who are unsafe and put everyone else at risk in order to allow one illegal immigrant the ability, to live the American dream, right? In other words, their thing is like, look, hey, my thing, what I say is this, the same thing they say about trying to ban guns. It's like, look, if it saves just one life, I mean, I want you to think about this. If these folks were not in the country illegally, the people who crashed into that vehicle, they're in Florida, they'd still be alive. The other instances where we've seen pileups caused by people who don't read or write English, can't read or write English, driving with California driver's licenses or with commercial driver's licenses from left-wing states, in particular from California. Those are deaths that, quite frankly, should be on the state of California. State of California should be able to be sued because these folks should have never gotten their license. They should have never been in a position where they could drive these vehicles. And the left doesn't care because to them, the deaths of innocent people are worth it. For them, it's worth it to allow, people from other countries to come here and live the dream. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And it's time for the American people to stand up and, it's time for the American people to stand up and tell them, look, no, it's definitely not worth it. Okay, folks, we've now reached our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster on discount today. Our parting shots today are going to be brought to you by the folks over at Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. And this is a phenomenal list because I think it's, considering what we've been talking about with all the stuff going on there in Minnesota, it says here, is this Minnesota daycare actually a fake Somali front? Know the signs. Let's see here. It says, number one, there are no children at the daycare. A subtle clue. Something fishy may be going on. The daycare is just a creepy old van and someone spray painted daycare on. Yeah, there you go. The daycare's address keeps changing depending on where the van is parked. This might not be totally above board. When you call the daycare number, someone answers, Al-Shabaab headquarters. How can I direct your call? That would be concerning. The daycare ad says, your kids will leer so much here. Ooh, wow. Okay. There must not be any spell check in Somalia. The daycare owner just pulled up in a Lambo. Ooh, not your typical daycare owner ride. The daycare owner just got out of his Lambo carrying an RPG. Now, this is getting suspicious. That's what happens when your daycare money goes to terrorists. Yes, some of the money that has been stolen in some of these scams, went to terrorists. Anyway, and then finally, the daycare owner just got a big bag of money from Tim Walls in the parking lot, and now you're physically watching him use the money to buy more RPGs. Yep, I do believe that is a Somali front. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. Oh, wait, before we go, got to give once again one more quick shout out to our sponsors, Hitman Industries. Buy your rifle and pistol caliber barrels at hitmanindustries.net. You got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. You can find more and learn more at cragop.org. We've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. And then finally, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun, that would be uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. That's going to be it for this week. That's going to be it for this year. Wow, another year. When we come back on Monday, we will be starting season 6 of the Rundown. That's right, season 6. I want to just say thank you to each and every one of you who've tuned in over the years. We appreciate you supporting us. We hope that you will continue to support us. We hope that you will continue to like, share, and subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. Chances are I will not talk to y'all again till the new year. So y'all have fun. Y'all be safe, and you have a very happy new year. God bless y'all.